Oh, boy. Where do we start today? I promise you, this is the place that you want to be. Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Coach and Bro Show. We are here every single Monday and Thursday. We drop around 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, you can become a premium member or via a super sticker. Now, it's been about 12 hours since WrestleMania was over, and we have so much to talk about. And I'm just going to say, before we even get started, a lot of it is not good. Maybe the worst night the WWE has ever had, but we're going to break it all down like only me and Vince Russo can, with collectively almost 20 years inside of the WWE. So let's go ahead and bring in my partner from russosbrand.com. And we both were live last night, Vince. And obviously, we're going to start with night number 2. There's so much to break down, but we got to start with, in my opinion, the worst decided finish in the history of WrestleMania, and any good that they did prior to that last 5 minutes, they threw it all away. And I don't know how the WWE recovers from this in the short term. Good afternoon. And I will give you the floor, sir.
Coach, I have to say this first. I really have to say this first. I'm going to tell you what I was doing this morning before I came online. And I'm being as serious as a heart attack.
Okay.
I have said to everybody all along, on my 65th birthday, I am going to stop watching the WWE. That is January 24th, 2026. I'm done. I've got 9 months.
Okay.
Coach, I got to tell you, after coming off of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, bro, this is no joke. After coming off Friday and Saturday and Sunday, I was spending this morning literally looking at my tax return from last year, what Social Security benefits I can get at my age now, because with Social Security, bro, if you're not fully retired, you're allowed to make X amount of dollars, but after you make X amount of dollars, they're going to take money out against your Social Security. In other words, Coach, no joke, based off the last 3 days, I was crunching numbers to see if I can stop watching WWE right now, today, and if my Social Security will cover the money I will lose. That's how.
That's how serious it is for you.
Coach, the last 11 hours, I'm talking 3 hours SmackDown and 8 hours over the weekend. Coach, I feel like I've been through a 15-round fight. I am so beaten up, so tired, so disgusted. They've beat me as a former fan. They have beat me down to a pulp where I'm literally trying to figure out, can I stop watching today and afford to leave that money on the table?
That sucks.
I mean, that's where I am. I
respect it. I respect it. I really, really do, because I feel gutted. And I didn't do the full watch-alongs like you did. We did the last 3 matches, and then we did a post-show. By the way, if you want to be a part of what we're doing here, I didn't even tell you at the start because I wanted to get to Vince so quickly. We now have 2 separate YouTube pages. All of our sports betting is going to be on our new one we launched today. All of our pro wrestling, Coach and Bro, be right here. So this will all be pro wrestling and a little bit of PFL. We do have a super sticker because that's how you can be a part of the show. Max Still, thank you very much. On top of how bad the main event was, the wrestling itself was crap. That's where we've got to start, Vince, because all of us here, all the fan base, we've been invested since the Elimination Chamber. And to me, there's so many layers that go into what happened last night. John Cena just got off the Pat McAfee show. And I'm even more confused now than I was before what I just watched. But let's start with last night. The Rock started this whole thing. This was The Rock doing the throat slash. Haven't seen nor heard from him or anything with him in it since, 3 months? It's been 3 months. And then last night, the main event was slow, methodical. I thought, all right, they're working up to something big like what we saw night 1. But Vince, all we got was Travis Scott coming out in the middle of the match. Everything stops. Cena starts smiling, handshakes Travis Scott with a bullshit hardcore title on his shoulder that he got from Triple H, and then he's involved in the finish. And then I think the entire crowd, including George Kittle, could not believe this is what you're giving me to close out WrestleMania after all the investment, everything we believed, and not a Rock. And on top of that, Vince, Rock, I looked at his Twitter page, has not posted in 3 days. There's something a lot bigger going on here. Do you agree?
I agree 1,000%, Coach. And let's also not forget, because this was a big part of our kvetching leading up to this, the ticket prices. How many of those people paid thinking they were going to see The Rock? Let's not forget that. How many people thought they were going to be? Coach, I swear to you, people can see it. Somebody put up a clip on my Twitter at the Vince Russo. I'm watching this in real time, and when Cena goes over and they're playing the music, I'm literally like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm like, I'm literally, you can watch my react. I'm like, there's no way, Coach. They're running Paul Levesque's name as the producer. I'm still waiting. I'm still sitting here saying they're going to hit Rock's music. I'm literally the final last credit. I'm sitting here. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And I'm being as serious as a heart attack. I was like, because Coach, my whole thing was out of sight, out of mind. No mention of The Rock. We're not going to see The Rock. And at the opportune time at WrestleMania, hit that music. And I'm sitting here and, Coach, I can't believe what I'm witnessing.
You've got to believe, because they also just announced that you talk about timing. So WWE is releasing this new show called Unreal. It's going to be on Netflix, and it's going to take, as Triple H says in the video, we're going to pull the curtain all the way back. Vince, on top of the Elimination Chamber, have we forgotten about Rock beating the hell out of Cody Rhodes during that time? Have we forgot about The Rock showing up January 6th and talking to the Netflix? I mean, everything led to Rock running the show. And when you don't get The Rock tomorrow, that's why the crowd was so dead, because they were all looking towards the ramp to say, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And then I think they could have almost gotten away with it with him showing up and doing what Travis Scott did. But even that would have been, where's the creativity? This is WrestleMania. This is when you pull out all the stops, which then last year, I went back and looked, Rock was posting all the way up. He posted about what happened. So to me, something creatively got off the tracks. And even though TKO is heavy on The Rock's side, I think right now The Rock, and this, call me a conspiracy theorist, Vince, I think he's so pissed off at Triple H and the creative team, he said, you know what? I'm going to take my ball and go home. He posts that he's in Maui, and he was in Maui, and he's staring at a Rubik's Cube, and that's the last freaking post we got from The Rock on WrestleMania weekend. That screams volumes to me.
There were two things that were so telling on this weekend. Two things that were so telling. First of all, Coach, like you pointed out, Rock not posting, Rock not putting WrestleMania over, Rock not putting his boy John Cena over. That speaks volumes. Number two, the self-glorification of Triple H throughout this entire WrestleMania run. And here, guys, I am telling you, this was the most telling spot of the entire weekend. And Coach will tell you, because you don't do this to the boys, okay? First of all, bro, there's a statue of Triple H outside of WrestleMania. Let's start with that, an actual statue. Let's start with Triple H cutting an hour-long promo, putting himself over at the Hall of Fame speech, where literally they're going to shots in the audience, including Booker T, who is sound asleep at 2:00 in the freaking morning. Okay, Coach, let's then go to who's opening up the show. Triple H. But this was the spot. And guys, you don't believe Vince? Go back and watch it. So, Coach, you've got Austin and Bret Hart out there.
This was awful. This was awful.
The introduction of the Hall of Famers.
Oh,
this guy has the balls to give himself a special entrance. And Coach, I'm telling you, he's got the water bottle in his hand. And I'm like, do not tell me you're going to freaking spit water. But guys, first of all, here's what he just did. This is what he just did. He just totally showed up Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. He just totally said, I am a bigger star than the both of you. That's why I'm getting this entrance. Now, Coach, I don't even know if you saw this. He goes and shakes their hands. When he walks away, look at the look on Austin and Bret's face. Look at the look on that face. Coach, I don't know if there's two things happening here. I swear to God. Either this guy is more of an egomaniac than I ever imagined. It's either that or, Coach, they are setting him up for the fall. Coach, you and I worked very closely with Vince McMahon for many, 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 many years. There's been 40 WrestleManias under Vince McMahon. If Vince McMahon was not a character on the show, the only time you would see him throughout the entire weekend is welcome to WrestleMania.
That's
it. One time. Go back and watch the WrestleManias. You don't believe me. This guy... It got to the point of being obnoxious. And like I said, Coach, either this guy is an egomaniac like I never dreamed, or he's being set up for the fall. It's one of those two things, Coach.
1 hour and 47 minutes is how long his speech was at the Hall of Fame, which didn't start until 10 o'clock Pacific time, which was 1 a.m. Eastern time. 1 hour and 47 minutes he talked. And he did bring up Vince, gave him all the credit. What a complicated relationship. And Vince, as the weekend went along and all these shows, everything you're talking about, you're 100% spot on. You have said for the better part of a year doing this show, you said he will be gone in 18 months. It is so obvious to me that that's exactly what they are doing. So to counteract that, Triple H is doing the only thing that wrestlers know how to do. Because remember, at his core, he's one of the boys. It's to put yourself over. And he talked about in his speech how Vince welcomed him in to the production meetings. Remember when he said that? Guess who was sitting in those production meetings when he started coming in a suit and tie? Your boy right here. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time it happened, we all looked at him like, what the hell is going on? Why are you in here? And then he went through a run where he kept putting himself over, kept winning championships, and all the boys would alienate themselves from him because they couldn't compete with dating the boss's daughter and being the number one guy. And so that look from Bret Hart, the rolling of the eyes, when we know he still blames Vince and to a certain extent Triple H. But that told me all I needed to know. Stone Cold and Bret Hart are just simply bigger stars than Triple H. Period. Point blank. End of story. And the fact that he was so oblivious, Vince, that he would give himself a full music entrance, and those two guys are going to stand out there. They're like their Earthquake and like they're Michelle McCool. Are we serious right now? I mean, they're the two of the top 5 stars in the history of the business. And you're going to do that to them and then try to shake their hand as if they're supposed to put you over? I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen an entire event be bogarted by one of the worst decisions. And Vince right now, today, Triple H, over the last 5 days, what has he done? He's taken shots at you and me. Every podcast that's done by his buddies, he's taking shots at. He's talking about fans not being fans. We see today John Cena and now Paul Heyman is on the Pat McAfee show. They're all doing damage control. I think they believe we can do whatever we want to do, and these fans will buy it. Well, guess what? They may have gone too far this time. And I don't know what's in the future, but it ain't what we watched last night, and the fan base is flipping like that in real time.
But, Coach, you've got to ask yourself this question, Coach, because, bro, I've said this a million times. Triple H can go out to that ring, take a steaming dump in the middle of the ring, and they'll put it over. That is the WWE fan base today. Coach, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. Coach, literally, I was coming down to the wire. The end of the Giant game and the start of WrestleMania last night. I'm coming down to the wire. Coach, the Giants got a 3-run lead in the bottom of the 9th. They give up 4 runs. I am calling them every name in the freaking book, cutting a promo. But, Coach, we have seen with this Mark crowd over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what they put out there. So, Coach, the question is, does it matter that you paid $1,500 and they didn't deliver The Rock?
$1,500?
Whatever.
How about 1,000?
Thousands. Coach, does that even matter? We have seen this fan base.
I think in a weird way it does, but not necessarily the way that you're thinking, Vince. I think, and this is how diabolical, we've been talking, haven't we said this? Triple H and The Rock hate each other. We've stood on it. We stand on it. We've stood on it.
Yes.
And if this doesn't show the fan base, and I see people in the chat going, oh, he was shooting a movie. He couldn't be there. Then he knew the shooting schedule 3 months ago, if that's really what happened, which I don't believe that it is. And I work with somebody who his producing partner is the right hand of Martin Scorsese. I reached out to him, Vince, for this show, and I said, was Rock busy doing a movie? I get nothing in response, which never happens, which means he didn't want to tell me what's really going on. And Vince, right now, when you make this big of a deal, when you've got John Cena, arguably one of the Mount Rushmores, and you're going to start the storyline, damn it, Vince, I don't care if he was shooting a movie or not. They should have given him off 2 or 3 days if that's indeed the case. I don't believe it is. I think long-term, Rock wants to run this place. And I think long-term, he was willing to sacrifice an entire WrestleMania to prove a point. So now the powers that be that know nothing about pro wrestling at TKO, they always talk, all you see is these interviews, Vince, of Nick Khan on The Ringer and Mark Shapiro and all these talking about money. No, you don't hear anything about the fan base or the families. All you heard, money. And I think The Rock wanted to prove, you know what? If this is what you guys want to do it without me. Mm-hmm. What do you believe in your heart of hearts truly happened with not having The Rock for 1 second of screen time in 3 months?
You know what I was actually thinking, Coach, yesterday? Can you imagine if he no-showed? Can you imagine if they thought he was going to be there? Can you imagine? Because, I'm sitting here, Coach, and I'm just telling myself there is no way they could have played this whole thing out through Elimination Chamber knowing he was not going to be there. There is absolutely no way. So that's why I start thinking about, bro, did he pull that card at the last minute? Did he say, you know what? Good luck. Have a great show. Because again, I'm going to go back to this. If he's in on this whole thing, we'll do the Elimination Chamber, and then I'm not going to show up. If he's a part of this, he's putting it over now. Mm-hmm. He's putting it over now. He's covering him not being there. That's what he's doing now. But to be radio silent, I think that silence speaks volumes, Coach. I think it speaks volumes.
So I'm looking at his Twitter page right now, which you know him. He's always tweeting about whatever he's doing in the moment. Always promoting. So 3 days ago was his last post. 3 days ago, which was Friday. Okay. And he tweeted about a Project Rock training shoe. Okay. Project Rock training shoe with a link to buy said shoe. Same day. Nice partnership growth with Papa Tua. We're happy to announce every Walmart in America now carries Papa Tua. That was Friday, the day before WrestleMania. The day before, new Project Rot training collection drops now. The same shoe that he promoted the next day. And then the tweet before that was all the way back on April 14th. Thanks for the questions. Yes, I've always wanted to be an actor. And he answers a question from a fan. Absolutely zero in the last week, month, 2 months. And Vince, I'm telling you right now, and they can say whatever they want in the chat or whatever they want on social media. This dude, when he believes that he is right, he will do whatever he has to in order to make that point, even if it means sacrificing the biggest moment of the biggest year, in the biggest year when they're signing with Netflix for $5 billion. Because then tonight, all you're going to see is negative, 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 negative. And then you push forward, and then you're doing damage control today. And Cena, afterwards last night, because I know we both feel the same way, you saw him in the post scrum, right? You had it was packed. You had like 50 people, reporters. And every question he said, I believe that's a clickbait question. Next. And he said it 4 times. It got up and left. Didn't even understand it. I was like, this is bullshit. And so then 12 hours later, he's sitting on the Pat McAfee show, and he's babyface Cena again. And he's talking about the show. And you guys, when I'm on TV, our relationship there. But you guys always show up here. And all of a sudden, he's no longer a heel. And he's no longer that guy. And I'm like, what are we doing, Vince, that this is what it is? Why? I always understand. And I'm blown away at what their decision-making is, and that Cena is riding along with this. What do you make of him going in and out of character in the last 12 hours?
Well, also, Coach, don't forget, you and I were saying this whole time, we were saying, and bro, Coach, I got to show you something. Can you believe this on my phone? What is this that I'm getting? Now I got to go sit at the Apple store for 2 hours. What is this? What is this for $1,000 phone? Can somebody tell me what this is, bro?
What is that?
Who knows? They got to restore my phone, and I got to go to Apple and get it restored. But Coach, let's not forget, bro. Please don't forget what me and Coach were saying. How many times, Coach, did we say when we weren't seeing The Rock? What about this? You got one of these. What about this? Coach, go back to last year. Mm-hmm. Go back to last year. When he was on the movie set, when he was here, he was videotaping himself and
every week.
It in.
Every week.
Not once this time. Not once. And let me tell you something. People in the chat, you WWE Mark neckbeards, whoever you are, if you can't read between the lines that there is trouble in Stamford, Connecticut, I got to be honest with you, then you are a mark. This is, Coach, this reminds me of Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin going at it in the dugout, and the Yankee fans saying, oh, no, they're fine. They're just talking. They're fine. They do that all the time. No, bro, there is trouble in paradise, and there is going to be ramifications, Coach.
All right, I want to run a couple of videos from reactions. We're going to start with Cena. And apparently, Rock didn't want to be part of that garbage. Could be. So here is Cena. Producer man, cut this up. Give me like 45 seconds or so, producer. This is Cena this morning. Let's roll tape. All right.
They're going to have to make a new title. They're going to have to start the clock over again. And whoever is that first champion, whether it's Cody Rhodes, whether it's Dirty Dom, whether it's Logan Paul, whether it's Braun Breaker, it doesn't matter. They'll be the first one. Bruno, Hogan, Austin, Rock, HBK, Taker, Game, every name you can imagine. CM Punk, that comes home with me. Because that's what I've earned, and that's what I want to do. I want to write history, and I'm going to put my stamp on the business by taking that piece of the business home with me. We all talk about this new era, and we talk about how the business is changing. Well, I'm taking the last piece of tradition in the business home with me, and you guys can figure out how to settle.
What about that?
What
about that, Coach?
What do you make of that? Taking it home, starting over. You're not going to defend it. You're now the champion, and now we're going to have a tournament. to decide who's going to be the new champion, because he clearly said, I'm not going to be out there every single week. He is booked for Raw tonight. But again, that was heel John Cena. And then in the same interview, he turned into babyface John Cena.
Coach, I'm going to be honest, and that's why I've said I'm exhausted. I'm not gonna sit here anymore and try to figure out what is going on with this company. I have never seen such disarray I've seen dysfunctional teams. Coach, I don't even know what to say from any of this anymore.
So there's another one. So the great thing about the wrestling business is when you don't know if something's a shoot, which is true, or a work, meaning it's contrived with the WWE powers that be. Vince, this also went viral. This is Karrion Kross. Now, Karrion at the Hall of Fame on Friday night came in a bad mood. He wasn't a part of WrestleMania, and he's pissed about it, like a couple of different talents were, and I think he's got a beef. I'm a big fan of Karrion Kross. So he shows up with Sam Roberts. I believe this was Sunday morning. And I want you to listen to this entire promo and tell me if it's not a shoot and a work about how some of the boys feel about being left off of that WrestleMania. Producer man.
Let's talk about how awesome it is that Logan Paul just won. And let's talk, Sam, let's talk about what Logan Paul represents. The shortcut. Feels so good to be here. Feels so good to be in the business. Thinking about all of the funerals that I wasn't able to attend for the last 11 years in this business, all of the holidays I missed. You know, I could have just started a YouTube channel, could have just jumped in there with AJ Styles. Feels really good, right? It's awesome. It's really good.
Do you guys know we have 25 years combined experience, and what are we doing on Mania?
Well, they know because they're normal human beings, and they actually love professional wrestling, but apparently that doesn't mean shit anymore. That doesn't mean shit. All I asked Alan to do was, for once, to not think about just himself. Think about everybody in the back, and think about the professional wrestling fans. That's all I wanted him to do. Sometimes, to do the right thing, you have to do the wrong thing. But he's a narcissist, and he had to do it his way. Hey, Alan, how many more WrestleManias do you have in your system? Probably, I don't know, one. Maybe this is the last one, and you just pissed that away. For what? For what? For your way? Thanks a lot, bud. I really appreciate it. You want to know what the best advice I ever got? It was from Bill Goldberg. 2021, back when I was in the Twilight Zone, you know what I mean? I'm wrestling for gasoline. It was awesome. Let me tell you all about it. Bill goes, hey, Kross, you know what? You remind me a lot of me. I go, I think we have different styles, Bill, but I really appreciate that. Do you have any advice for me? He goes, you know what? You just got to be a good soldier. A good soldier is what he said. So I decided to be a good soldier. You know what happened? They released me. And then I come back. You know what being a good soldier gets you, everybody here? Just so in case you're wondering, you want the back scoop here. Being a good soldier gets your times cut. Being a good soldier means that people come up to you and say, hey, you got any great ideas? Yeah, here it is from Scarlet. No. That's a little too great. We're looking just for good ideas. That's for those guys over there. That's what being a good soldier is, okay? Being a good soldier is coming to your hometown where you cut your teeth when you got started and not being on the card. It's all about viral moments now. That's what it's all about, viral moments. Well, Guy, everybody's been telling me that I got to become undeniable. And as soon as it happens, they ignore it and they shut it down. I never asked to wrestle Randy. I never asked. That happened organically, and you ignored it for a viral moment. And good on Joe. Nothing against him. But you ignored it. And the crowd told you exactly how they felt about me on SmackDown when I was eliminated. And you ignored it. Become undeniable. My ass. My ass. You want a viral moment? On behalf of all of the true fans of professional wrestling, Guy with the suit and tie in the truck, go fuck yourself. That's from Killer Kross. No, fuck it.
That is one of the greatest promos I have ever heard, and I want your reaction, Vince Russo.
My reaction is, first of all, bro, I had the honor of meeting him before he was ever in the WWE because he was a friend of Disco's. Disco introduced me to him. We actually had breakfast together once. Nicest and smartest guy you will ever meet. Respectable, yes sir, no sir type of guy, okay? And you could tell how smart Killer Kross is because he is doing that interview where he still is telling the storyline. Alan is AJ Styles. So I told Alan to do it a certain way. That storyline. So he's still trying to mask it within the storyline, but without a shadow of a doubt, the true feelings are coming out. Coach, I used to do this all the time. That's why I created Vic Venom in the magazine, because Vic Venom was how I really felt about the WWE product. And when Bruce Pritchard would come up to me and say, Vince, how can you say that? And I knew Bruce would go run it to Vince. I would laugh at him and say, Bruce, that's Vic Venom. He's a heel character. No, I meant every word. And that's what Cross just did. And here's the telling part, bro. He is such a great actor and such a great performance that could have been a work, because that's how good he is. But, bro, when you're cutting a promo on the guy in the truck, you're not having a match against the guy in the truck, Coach.
That's right. That's right.
That tells you everything you need to know. He's not booking himself in the guy in the truck. So this was him trying to stay within storyline, but the real emotion. He is from Vegas. That is his hometown. He wasn't on the card. You know this is a guy that offers ideas all the time. You know he's smarter than everybody else, just like Bray Wyatt was. So this is definitely a guy that kind of reached his boiling point.
I think it's 90% shoot, 10% work. You're talking about 14 matches, 7 each night. They added the Randy Orton match and no Karrion Kross. And you had the New Day against the War Raiders. And to me, Karrion Kross is way more over right now than either one of those teams right now. And to me, this shows just how in disarray the locker room truly is. And it would not surprise me if they decide, you know what? He went too far. That was not – clearly they did not write a 3.5-minute script for him for that show. He went off on his own, and he's been pissed the entire weekend. And I don't blame him. I don't like using the word deserve ever when it comes to WrestleMania, but after everything we just saw, how can you not, if you're Karrion Kross, or if you're The Miz, or if you're a lot of these, or Bayley gets – can you imagine talking to Bayley and saying, hey, Bayley, you were in this match, but we just got a deal done with Becky Lynch. So we've got to fake an injury for you backstage so we can find a spot for her, instead of using Becky Lynch in the Charlotte Tiffy time match, which would have made all the sense in the world. You make her a tag team champion, and that's her big comeback. It's just more head scratching to me.
Well, what was worse than that? Becky Lynch, winning a tag team title with the girl who already has a title. What about Austin announcing the attendance? Bro, I said in Austin's defense, I said this yesterday, Coach. I said this isn't about Austin doing it. This is about suggesting it to Austin, whoever this came from. Because in Austin's defense, Coach, who knows how much money he got to do that? If they said, Steve, we're going to cut you a check for $500,000 to announce the attendance, he's a moron not to do it.
Correct.
But the fact that you would even suggest this, Steve, we want you to go out there and give the attendance. Coach, again, I talk about this all the time. This is what you get when one of the boys is in charge of creative, because Hunter is a wrestler and he's going to like this guy and not that guy and like this guy. And it's going to go all the way back to when he was working. He's going to carry grudges and those people are going to get punished. And that's exactly what you're seeing. That's why, me, when I was just a writer, I got handed the roster by JR. Vince, go to work. Get everybody over. It don't work that way when you're a wrestler, man, because there's baggage. And especially if somebody cuts a promo better than you ever did in your entire life, bro, he needs to take a seat somewhere in the back of the bus. Come on.
It's pretty obvious that everything you're saying is spot on. By the way, I believe that Stone Cold was probably a little bit inebriated last night. He probably wasn't happy with how he was used. Watch this video of him coming on to do the announcement of the attendance. Watch what happened that they did not show on the air. Roll tape. So he completely drives past the ramp, which tells me they never practiced it during the afternoon, or he already had a couple of Steve Weisers. He then goes down, circles the ring, Vince, and he rams the ATV into the barrier, and everybody was cool except the one woman who had a delayed reaction of hits the barrier, oh, I can sue, oh, and then falls back. And who runs down there to comfort her? None other than WWE President Nick Khan. So when Stone Cold got done announcing the attendance, he walks down. Nick Khan is already there talking to this woman who clearly was overreacting because everybody else was just fine. That was just another debacle last night. And you're right. It reminded me, Vince, of 2008, my last WrestleMania. You know, we hired Kim Kardashian to announce the attendance. And I've got to take something back. I've always made fun of her because she couldn't remember the number and had to bring out a card. Stone Cold had a card last night. He had that card to have the number because I remember she goes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Citrus Bowl, a new 68,200. That's what happened. I'm sitting there at ringside. So Stone Cold last night, and you got to believe deep down, he's like, this is really what they're going to have me do. Induction, I'll stand on the ramp, I'll come down and announce, and The Undertaker gets full billing for a one-man show after the show on Saturday night. And then last night, Vince, they had a roast. They had a roast after night 2 of Wrestle. You can't just enjoy the night. Now you got to go to a roast. And it almost seemed like they were trying to shove 8,000 things, and they tried to do so much they forgot about the most important thing. The show.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But Coach, I got to tell you, man, when he was ripping around the ring, I'm like, I knew he was going way
too fast.
Oh my, I could see that coming a mile away. But Coach, speaking of him coming down the ramp in 3 seconds flat, Coach, I swear to God, these freaking entrances are unbearable. Coach, it is unbearable. These 10, 15-minute entrances, and then when there's 3 people in the match and 4 people in the match, it is unfreaking bearable, man.
I was sitting so I just got back from Florida, and I was sitting at my daughter. She's in a musical. And so Saturday was the first night. So I'm sitting there. I had a horrible accident Saturday afternoon. I'm lucky, honestly, not to be seriously. I had a horrible accident. My whole left side of my body is completely...
In a car accident?
No, I flipped a golf cart on Saturday afternoon.
God.
I flipped it. Yeah, I'll send you the pictures. It's absolutely insane what my body looks like right now. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just in unbearable pain. I was like, man, I may have to go to the hospital. And I had Tommy and Raphael texting me the updates, and they get done with the match right before, and it's like another 30 minutes. And I'm like, where are the updates? It took that long for Seth Rollins, Roman, and CM Punk, and you add packages in the entrances, which I've never seen before. Yes.
Coach, they did a video on YouTube, a night 1, just the entrances. They put it up yesterday. Just the entrances, 35 minutes of entrances. 35 minutes for how many? Seven matches, 35 minutes worth of entrances.
I think that's just for the main event, to be honest with you, because I saw a stat, Vince. They had more entrance time and wait time, 2 hours and 11 minutes, than actual wrestling time, which was 1 hour and 45 minutes on night number 1. I mean, it's, and I'm all for a great entrance. We have a super sticker. Thank you, Anonymous, very much for supporting the show. He says, in hindsight, the match would have been so much better, babyface versus babyface, than Cena cheats and turns heel to win at Mania. Very interesting. If we knew that it was going to be this way and no Rock, maybe that's what they should have done, Vince. What would you have liked that?
Yeah, well, Coach, that's the thing too. Like if you let's assume they knew The Rock wasn't coming. Okay. I think Rock is. If Rock would have no-showed, he would have been screwing TKO. He would have been screwing, the people he's in business with. And I think Rock is more professional than that. So let's assume, bro, they know The Rock's not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Then, bro, you've got to pull out all the freaking stops.
All of them.
Number 1, Joe Henry. How about hitting Goldberg's music if we know The Rock's not coming?
That would have been something.
Goldberg.
That'd have been something.
Here's another spot, Coach. The whole build, I'm like, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way. There was a way. Chelsea Green was not on the show. I'm thinking she's at least going to go out there and cut a promo.
Mm-hmm.
So, Coach, how about you have Chelsea Green call out Nick Aldis? I thought this was a rib, me not being on the show, blah, 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 blah. She starts getting physical with Nick Aldis, who's sitting in the first row. Nick Aldis' wife, Mickie James. Bro, if you know you don't have The Rock, you need to pull out all the stops. You need to have Goldberg come out and confront Orton. You need to have Mickie James get in the ring and get on Chelsea Green. But you know Austin's not coming and you're giving me John Henry and his Blue Ox, bro? Like, really? That's what you're going to give me knowing that Rock. And, Coach, I guarantee you that's why they signed Becky. They signed Becky because they knew The Rock wasn't coming and they had to do something. But there were so many other things they could have done and they did none of it.
None of it. None of it. And it goes back to, and I don't have to be right, but I kind of like Vince when you are, because most of the time we are not in the moment. And I love the chats just pop. We have so many people watching right now, and they're having their own conversations. But we're usually right a month or two down the road because what we talk about ends up playing out. And Vince, when you have a company that, and you know I work for the PFL, so I work with a lot of fighters that used to be in the UFC. I will never take a shot at Dana White or the UFC. Stay in our lane. But historically, they don't like to pay fighters. Historically, Mark Shapiro, who's been on every show in the universe, has said, we're not charging for enough tickets. We've got to charge more. We need to make more money, blah, 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 blah. And so if that is the case, then it doesn't surprise me that all those things you talked about would have cost money. All those things you talked about would have come out of the bottom line of the money that they already had. What I would have done is put Chelsea as Lyra's partner, and then I would have Becky get involved with the Charlotte and the Tiffy time thing. You know, with the, you know, it's so obvious to me what they could have done. The Goldberg thing I would have loved because you know it's going to be RKO, boom, and he can come back later and get back at him at SummerSlam or something like that. But Vince, to not do anything, to not have any of these, what we've come to know, what do you think Vince's reaction was last night watching all of these decisions one after another?
First of all, Vince, you know this, Coach, as well as I do. Vince would have had no idea who Travis Scott was. Absolutely no idea. This guy, he would have thought Travis Scott was a fan coming down the ramp. But think about that, Coach. We're talking about all these moments. Bro, remember at WCW when like Bischoff had, Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman and all those guys. Bro, they didn't come out for the main event spot. That would have been, that would have been Pete Rose coming out for the main event spot. Like, there were so many things. Austin going out there and giving the attendance. No Rock on the show. Travis Scott in a main event spot. There were so many things literally, is this a rip?
We have a big super sticker I want to read that's adding to the conversation from Bob M. Bob, thank you very much. Vince, he says, Cody kicked out of 4 AAs. Even Prime Austin couldn't have done that. The only good thing to come out of WrestleMania is Gunther and Cody's title runs are thankfully over. Rock's absence says it all. God, please save the WWE.
I'll go Bob M. one better, bro, because let's not forget night one. Let's not forget, because now I can't wait for the next year of Paul Heyman going out there and saying, yes, my revolutionary. Yes, my, what's the other word? What is that?
I'm a revolutionary. Oh, God. I get so caught up in the 5-minute entrance. Yes,
my visionary. Yeah, I can't wait to see that for the next year. But let's talk about this, Coach. These three guys, Reigns, Punk, and Rollins, took everything that everybody had to offer. Not only once, 3 times.
Multiple times.
But a 65-year-old obese tanned man is gonna give you a nut shot, and you're gonna be laid out on the canvas for 5 minutes. Like, think about that, bro. Think about them. Think about them talking about that finish. You guys are killing each other for 30 minutes, taking every move. I'll just drop to one knee and give you a low blow, and Punk will be out. Punk is out on the canvas for the next 15 minutes. Think about that, Coach.
I thought about that as I was, watching it. I watched it back because I was at the musical. But as I watched it back, I thought the same thing. I was like, so Paul Heyman has an atomic right arm that he literally gave the greatest nut shots of all time. And then Vince, one of the hidden rules in WWE is if it's being used in a main event, then the other matches don't use it. Like something major. You've got a nut shot in the Cena Cody match the next night, and then both finishes are courtesy of nut shots. And I'm like, is that all we can do? And then to have Roman Reigns stay out there and CM Punk stay out there for several minutes after, and then Roman walks away. He looked great, by the way, incredible shape. But then CM Punk kisses the mat and says, basically, I finally made it. I finally got my moment. And Paul Heyman is in those creative meetings. He was just on Pat McAfee, and they put him over like the second coming. He is very smart. But some of these egos, Vince, they can't admit when they've made the wrong decision. And you're never going to hear them say it after this weekend, ever.
Coach, I don't know about being very smart, because I'm watching that finish, and who's in my head? The man I sat next to many creative meetings for many years. Vince McMahon. Mm-hmm. Coach, the heat is on Paul Heyman. So now, is Paul Heyman going to wrestle Roman Reigns? Is Paul Heyman going to wrestle CM
You're right.
Punk?
You're right.
The heat is not on Seth Rollins. If I would have laid that finish out to Vince McMahon would have said to me, that's exactly what he would have said. Okay, Vince, and then are you going to book Roman Reigns against Paul Heyman? The heat's on Paul Heyman. It's not on Seth Rollins. Bro, Coach, all of that stuff is out the window, man.
That's why I love doing the show. I love breaking it all down. And I literally told myself as we were starting the show today, I said, try to be as objective and positive as you possibly can. But Vince, this is, to me, you talk about all WrestleManias, all 41 of them. I've never seen a decision more unbelievably chaotic. I don't want to use the word stupid. I don't want to call anybody stupid. But everything they're doing now, they're talking about that instead of 13 other matches. You did have some good things that happened. I think Dom, because he's such a great heel, he got a huge pop when he became the Intercontinental Champion. That was really good. But then for every good, you go back to, why would Travis Scott, when you're talking about heat on Paul Heyman, would Travis Scott at 140 pounds standing face-to-face with the Universal Champion, who's supposed to be the toughest guy on the SmackDown brand, and you're going to take a swing at him?
Not only that, would Cody Rhodes, who was, nut-shotted, beaten, bloodied, not use the belt on John Cena? Like, serious? Yeah, okay, bro. Now you're a mamby-pamby, sissy Mary girly man. After what they did to you, you're that much of a nice guy that you're not going to clock them with the belt? Really? I tell you what, I give credit to, Coach. I could not believe this.
What's that?
And this I really gave credit to. And, bro, I swear, I think this was the first time I saw this in the last 5 years. In the first night, they only used the announce table in the main event. I couldn't believe it, because every Raw, that announce table is used 4 or 5 times every Raw. They saved it just for the main event, and I was like, thank you.
What was the one last night? I think they crushed it last night too, I think. And then they rebuilt it later in the night. I can't remember which.
It was the spear from table to table by
Breaker to Carlito.
Yeah.
Breaker to Carlito. Yeah. Real quick, another super sticker. Thank you to Anonymous. Imagine having Stone Cold and using him to read. I put myself, Anonymous, you're absolutely right. And Vince, I put myself in that room that I've sat in for well over 500 shows, maybe closer to 1,000 in my career. And they talk through everything. Vince, how can 10 to 20 people be in a room and nobody have the balls to tell Triple H on all the stuff that we've talked about. There had to be 20 decisions that were just simply, we could talk about them until we're blue in the face. They simply were the wrong decisions to make. And I don't care which way you're looking at them. And on a week where Triple H, Nick Khan, and everybody else is going after podcasts like ours and saying, we don't know, we don't get it. Now we're pulling for Triple H to say, he was talking about us, where he says all these OGs are talking about us pulling back the curtain, and then they pull back the curtain themselves. No, we don't. We talk about what we would have done and how things were. We don't go into the room. And then Vince, 3 days later, to announce that you're going to have a show that's completely behind the scenes, it shows to me that Triple H is in a world
he's in a world of his own. Because first of all, Triple H, Coach, my job here and Coach's job is not to suspend the disbelief.
Correct.
That's not our job, bro. Our job is not that. A wrestler's job is to suspend the disbelief, not a podcaster, bro. Like, I literally got to sit here and explain that to you, man. Like, you don't understand the difference between a wrestler having to make you believe this is real and two podcasters who are talking about the wrestling industry. You don't see that difference?
I was blown away that that's what was a part of all these interviews the week of WrestleMania. It is very obvious to me that he sits there on the plane with his phone and he just scrolls, and then he makes fun of the fans and all these smarks, as we like to call them. But then you go out there and you book stuff like Travis Scott, which they would be lying to us if they would be lying to us if they said that this was not for the younger audience. Travis Scott being in there, he's got whatever 50 million followers or whatever the case might be. I don't care if it makes sense, Vince. We're going to get those followers. We're going to get those people that buy the $850 Triple H commemorative belt that was on sale. But that's not the only. You had 3 others for $750. $750 for a belt.
Coach, let me ask you a hypothetical question, because I can see this happening. I got to ask you a hypothetical question because, Coach, you and I are always ahead of the curve.
Always.
Listen, they could say whatever they want to say. This was the cluster of all clusters.
Give it to me.
Coach, if somebody makes a call today and says, Rock, $10 million, get on the next plane to Vegas. $10 million will be waiting for you. If Rock were to appear on tonight's show, does that make it even worse?
Yes, because it would be obvious to me and everybody else, and you included, that it was A, about creative control, B, about money. And Vince, let's not forget, to get him back into the fold on the board, he's on the board of directors.
Yeah.
Okay. $30 million first payment. And then he just got another big balloon payment in the last 3 months. So let's say that one was 10 or 15. He's already gotten almost $50 million and the right to use his name. He owns the Rock name now. So if he showed up tonight, that would be so incredibly obvious. And then I would want one of those Unreal cameras from Netflix backstage to figure out what those two talk about and how they go about it. Because I don't even know what they could do.
Again, I'm just thinking, can you imagine if he showed up tonight, because you talk damage control, and then those people that paid all that money last night.
Oh, I didn't even think about that part of it.
Like that.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh. No, I cannot. And boy, can you? This was the most advertised non-advertisement in the history of wrestling, is the fact that you had to have Rock there. There wasn't one person that you could not have Rock there.
Bro, I swear, I made this comparison yesterday. I swear I made this comparison. Bro, remember when Star Wars came out and how huge it was back in 1977? Huge. The movie was huge. Bro, the anticipation for The Empire Strikes Back. Remember? I mean, Coach, we were
huge.
around. Bro, I swear to God, it would have been like The Empire Strike Back premiering and Darth Vader isn't in the movie. There's no sign of Darth Vader. We don't mention Darth Vader. That's what the equivalent of last night was, Coach.
We've been on the air for 55 minutes, and I had all these other things to talk about. And that's how big this show or this mistake was. And the one thing they never do, the one thing I'm learning as a person who's leading and other things that I do, is the one thing you have got to be willing to do if you want to be a good leader is admit when you make mistakes.
Yes, sir. Yep.
We're never going to hear that. Instead, you're going to put Michael Cole, Paul Heyman, John Cena on Pat McAfee's show, and they are going to blow this out of the water. McAfee telling Cena, "You've earned this, man. 20 years, man. You earned this." Blah, 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 blah. And I love McAfee as a whole, but last night they were trying to put lipstick on a pig. The commentary for the main event was everything that it should not have been because they knew what was coming to. Michael Cole's not stupid. He's called 28 of these things. He knew that everybody was going to shit on this. And yet they don't have a voice in the room. It really is crazy. Another super sticker, Final Boss Engaged. Thank you. Some online thinks Cena will give Rock the belt tonight. Why would you give that away tonight and not the biggest night of the year? At least part of it. That's why all these conspiracy theories. But let's say this does happen because we got to wrap it up, and we'll talk more about this on Thursday after what we see tonight. Vince, this is what you and I were worried about. I said John Cena had to win in order for him to be on Raw the next night. That's exactly what happened. But how they did it, colossal failure. So now you're going to have 4 months. And if The Rock didn't show up the last 3 months, he damn sure is not going to show up the next 4 months. So what do they do now moving forward that the game has all this negativity surrounding him, and then now they're going to go through cuts, which they always do. There's going to be a bunch of people get fired. They always do it at the end of April, beginning of May. And now there's going to be so much negativity surrounding this product. How do they move forward?
You know, Coach, I'm just going to go back to what I've been saying all along. I first have to see their, fan base say, you know what? You screwed us. You effed us over. Rather than everything is hunky-dory and it's forgotten about and we're singing along with Dominic Mysterio tonight. I've got to see that first because this fan base has convinced me to this point they do no wrong. There is nothing they do that is wrong. I am going to have to see a change in their fan base. And Coach, I've got to be honest with you. I don't know if we're going to. I really don't know if we're going to.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because a lot of times, and this happened when you and I were there, they look at certain things, they go, well, it's here. And now with TKO and all these different people that are not wrestling people. These are not wrestling people.
Right.
These are business people.
Yes.
And all they look at is the WWE world that had a line that took some people 2 and 3 hours to get in. Oh, business is booming. We see all the people right there. You got people literally paying $800. You're like, okay, that clearly we're doing something right. And I think they're losing sight of the fact, or nobody's telling them, that if your core gets out of whack, then those fans that paid all that money next year, they ain't going to the next WrestleMania. And then eventually it starts to fall off. I saw it. I was there. It happened in 2002, 2003. They will say, screw you. They said it to Rock with his movies. They didn't go watch him because he walked away from the business. And I think they're making a calculated mistake at a time when there's never been more interest in the product. And now if you're AEW, if you can get a really good person in there like, I don't know, a Vince Russo, and start writing really good shows, these are the times you take advantage of the other company just dropping the ball. This is what you do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Coach, because a lot of people don't understand how we got back in the game with the Attitude Era is WCW beat the NWO to death. It was Wolfpack, it was NWO Blue, NWO Red, NWO Purple. They had watered that down so badly that gave us the opening. And that's what you have here. This is an opening, but Tony Khan has no idea what he's doing creatively. So like you said, unless somebody is put in place, they're not going to take advantage of this situation.
I will say it again because it got a lot of play on Thursday. Tony Khan, the man's right here. Call us. We will help you. We will help you. We'll take the phone call. So now you've got a WWE, Vince, that your two biggest champions are John Cena, who just said on national TV he's taking the belt home. He's not even talking about defending it. He's just going to take it, and the business can do what they want to do. And then you got Jey Uso, who, as I correctly predicted, would start the show because of his entrance. And then you had Paul Heyman in a different interview talk about all the hate that Jey Uso is getting for not being ready or not being at the level you need to be a guy that you can put the company behind. And this will be kind of the last thing we talk about here on the show. So, Vince, all of that defending of Jey Uso, they give him the World Heavyweight Championship. And what does he do? He gets absolutely hammered throughout the entire night. So by the time the post press conference came, he was so drunk he couldn't even put a sentence together. And they not only put him out there, they then posted stuff from that press conference with him. All he could say was yeet, and that's right. Yeet, that's right. Hammered. And then he goes to Live nightclub and gets even more drunk. And that's part of the reason he was getting this, that Cody Rhodes never would have done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What did you make of the drunk video?
Yeah, Coach, I literally last night when the show was over, I was literally Rocky Balboa in Rocky 1 going the distance with Apollo Creed. No way I was watching anything after that. But Coach, can they be this stupid? You really want the icing on the cake? There are people, and again, bro, this is the WWE faithful. I'm telling you, there are people online. Rock's going to appear on Raw tonight, and Cena's going to give him the belt. Coach, can you imagine if these morons did that and didn't tell anybody? Can you imagine if they, after last night, if they know they have Rock on tonight's show and kayfabe it? Can you imagine? And bro, I see them doing that. I literally see them doing that.
Vince, there is not a world that I've never been this dumbfounded in my entire career.
Listen, I say this all the time about wrestling. This is a Christopher Guest movie. If Christopher Guest got a hold of this and understood wrestling, it would be his greatest movie of all time.
The thing about it is, I think the reason I feel this way is because I wanted it to be great. I was ready to eat crow.
Coach, I was ready to eat crow. I swear. I was convinced in my mind they were going to do something so phenomenal that I was going to have to eat crow. I swear I was ready to do that, Coach.
Wow. Well, we're going to see tonight, and I guess maybe we need to work into a world where we separate the show from real life and something we never believed in. I'm dumbfounded. So we will watch Raw tonight. We will, of course, talk about it on Thursday, and we'll see exactly what creative has in line for the next 4 months. And I'm guessing, Vince, we're going to have a tournament because John Cena is going to take his ball and go home. If they announce a tournament tonight on Monday Night Raw and Cena walks out of the building with that title, that could be the all-time low moment maybe in the history of that championship. Truly.
Yeah, and Coach, I want to point out one other thing that somebody had to actually point out to me.
What's that?
Coach, we talk about all these entrances and how long it all took and everything like that, right? 2 nights, 8 hours, not one backstage segment.
Wow.
Not one backstage interview.
I didn't even think about that. Not one. Not an interview leading up to the...
Not one.
That was always a staple.
Not
staple.
One.
Hey, Rock, later on tonight, you're going one-on-one with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's right. I mean, that was a staple. I mean, I was the one that did the Rock interview before Rock and Hogan WrestleMania 18. That was me. I did that.
Not
That's
one.
That's a staple in wrestling. Wow. All right. Well, we've done all the damage that we can do. Vince, great job. Great job. We will continue to be here, and maybe we're going to lean over to the AEW. I don't know. But I can't wait to see it tonight. I love that guy so much, and we love all of you. So many of you in the chat today is just popping, and that's exactly what we want. We love this, and we love it when it's good, but they've got to hear it when it's not good. And right now, after last night, we'll see how the WWE reacts. All right, do not forget, tonight right here on our YouTube page, The Last Word, as soon as Raw goes off the air, will be live. Me, Big Tommy C, maybe Raphael. Gabby's traveling today, we'll see. But I certainly will be here, and we'll talk a lot more about this later on tonight after we see what happens on Monday Night Raw. For Vince Russo, for Producer Man, for Intern Dan, I am the coach. We'll see you on Thursday right here. There is only one, The Coach and Bro Show.